Thank you very much for joining me in the studio today. As you can see, I'm not in the studio. I'm actually taking my little dog Molly for a walk. And I'm just breathing in the nice fresh air. The temperature has risen. There's been a light shower of rain. There's a lovely crisp feeling in the air. And I can see catkins, what we call catkins, on the trees. So that means spring's on the way. As I look across to the South Wales valleys, there you are. There's the edge of the valleys there. The other side of that is a place called Tonrel. And I'm looking at the sky today, and I can see Prussian blue, ultramarine blue. And the most important thing is, I think as an artist, when we walk, what we should do is take the environment in. Not just breathing in that lovely fresh crisp air like I'm doing today, but looking at the colours, looking at the tones, looking at the different greens you can see, the blues you can see in the sky. It's a magical thing, is art. So without further ado, let's go into the studio, let's have a look at the palette and see what we can create today. So did you bring my coffee? Yes, you did. Thank you very much. I'm going to be drinking that during the lesson. Now, as I said, let's have a quick look at the palette. So I've got some, I've been asked about Prussian blue. You know, what can we use Prussian blue for? Because it's quite a dark blue. And I thought, well, let me show you how to use it in sky. I'm going to do a bit of sky work today. So I got some Prussian blue. I got some ultramarine blue, which are two good combinations to mix those two together. You get a lovely sky. And I thought we'll introduce a little bit of that, because if we're going to be using blues, the best thing to do is a seascape. So I thought we'd do a little bit of a quick seascape. I got some yellow ochre for the sand. I got some burnt umber and black for the rocks, and I got a little bit of white for the clouds and the waves. So when we look at a painting, we need to decide how we're going to break it down. We need to, if we're using reference, we need to think, what colours are in there? What colours can I use? What colours can I use to mix the colours that I need? That's the thing. I've also got some media mix there, which is available at www.clive5art.co.uk. That's a mix of different mediums, just to stop the breakdown of the paint. I've got a little bit of retarder there just in case I need it. And I've got a fine mist bottle. Yes, I need to get a new fine mist bottle from www.clive5art.co.uk because that looks a bit worn out. Okay, so a canvas panel today. It's a 10 by 8 canvas panel, and I've just put a little bit of gesso on there with a bit of burnt umber because I just did. It doesn't matter what ground you use on there. I've just painted over an old painting. Now, I'm waffling too much. Let's get on to the sky. So let me just rinse that brush out. There we go. I don't want to mix yellow and blue together because I'll have a green sky. So let's get a little bit of Prussian blue and a little bit of ultramarine blue on the same brush. Prussian blue on one bit, ultramarine blue on the last bit there, on the next bit. Last bit, first bit, middle bit. Who knows? I don't mind. I can hear that rain coming down on my roof. A bit more ultramarine blue now. Because I want quite a dark top of the sky there like that. A little bit more Prussian blue maybe. Just in this one corner. Just to darken that corner up. Just a touch. Crisscross, crisscross, crisscross. Crisscross. Now I'm just going to get some white. And I'm just going to add white into that. Just to lighten this area. Like that. A little bit more light. So we need to add more white. There we go. Just to get the tone of different tones of colour in that sky. Now, if you wanted to, you could get have I got a dry blending brush here? Have I got a dry blending brush here? So I picked up what they call a mop brush. There we are. It's losing a few hairs, a bit like me actually. Look, it's the same colour as well. And I'm just going to slightly smooth down and put some hair on it. Because they're shedding like me. Okay, let's just put a bit more white in the sky, and as we come down we need to bring it a bit lighter and lighter. There we go. because it's an overcast type of day. What I'm trying to get in this painting is I don't want to like a bright blue summer sky. I want this looking like it could be a bit of cloud and rain on that horizon line. We need an horizon line just roughly down like that. If you want to put an horizon line in, get one of these angled lines like that, or a rule or anything like that. It's not a ruler. I've been asked before, is it a rule? A ruler? Well, a ruler is somebody that rules a country. Something a bit like the royal family. They rule us. A rule is something you draw lines with. That's what I was taught anyway. So I'm just going a little bit of a lightness into that dark because I didn't like it. I want to put a bit of shadow down there like this. Maybe just put a little bit of shadow in areas like that, just using this bit of Prussian blue. Maybe just a smidge of burnt umber in that sky, just to make it look as if this is a big storm cloud they're developing, and it's got that dirty blue, horrible looking, going to pour down on you at any minute type of sky. And I'm just putting some of this rain type of shadows in there. That's basically what I'm doing, is just painting some shadows in there. There we are. That looks pretty good. It looks like a heavy sky. So back into our Prussian blue and a little bit of ultramarine blue. And now you do this better than me. You need to get a nice straight line across there. Let me show you. Let me think the best. A way I could do that quickly would be to get my rule maybe there and just do that. There we are. That's straight enough. Is that straight enough? I think that's worse. There, that'll be alright. We can live with it. Can you hear the seagulls? I can hear seagulls. So we got that dirty looking sea. Let's get a bit of darker colour in there. There we are. Bit more Prussian blue now. What you could do is you could have dried the sky off, put a bit of masking tape, painted up the masking tape, and then take the masking tape off. That's what you could do. I didn't do it because I can tell you what to do. I can advise you what to do. I don't tell anybody to do anything, but I can advise you what to do. And my advice is, once you get a straight line, keep it. My little trick, maybe put a bit of headland in there if I've messed it up too much. So, okay, so I'm going to just wash that brush very quickly in some water. And I do that, as you know, in some plain water, a little bit of soap, back into the dirty water, and then back into some clean water like that. A little bit of white maybe now, just to lighten that up. Just bands of colour at the moment. Just bands of colour at the moment. Washy, washy, brushy, brushy. Bit of yellow ochre. A little bit of yellow ochre. maybe just a touch of burnt umber. There we go, another band. Another band of colour. A bit more burnt umber. So we've got 3 bands of colour really. A little bit more. And then as we come forward, a little bit of yellow ochre, a little bit of white. A bit more white. A little bit of burnt umber. There we are, a little bit of burnt umber there. Like that. We could get a little bit of white then, just pull down like that, and then very lightly just across, just to make it look wet. It might not be wet there. Put a bit too much white on then. It might not be wet there, but it depends where we're going to put rocks and stuff. But we want to put a little bit of possible reflection on that sand area. So it's always handy to put it in there. It's better to have it there and not need it, than need it and not have it there. So it looks a little bit wet. Looks as if there's a little bit of light reflecting there. So I'm going to dry that and finish my coffee. Maybe not as dry as I want it to be, and as I've said before, these paintings are designed for beginners and some people who just want to start back up in acrylics and painting away the stress of everyday life. A lot of my subscribers just watch me and listen to what I'm talking about, and they just enjoy that, and that's what reminds me so much of back in the 80s when I used to watch Bob Ross and programs like that, and that's all I used to do. I didn't paint much back in those days, so I added in a little bit of white and blue just on a small brush like this. And what I'm going to do is put a few clouds coming into the sky, and I just used to love just watching and painting and thinking, God, I wish I could paint like that. But you know, you can. You just got to put your mind to it and believe you can. You can achieve anything you want to achieve. That's what it's all about. Self-belief and the uncertain times that we find ourselves in these days with the virus. I'm very concerned, in fact, that we've got a pandemic going on that none of us are really aware of as such. I'm just getting a very small brush. You can see that's a very small, tiny little brush there. It's a number 5 Filbert actually. And I just want to use this to scrub in a little bit of burnt umber, maybe a little bit of shadow in this cloud, because I want these to look quite heavy with rain. Parts of them anyway. We got this mental health crisis, and I don't know what it's like where you are, where you live in the world. But I know in the UK that there's been a lot of suicides and people drinking a lot and, you know, not wanting to get up out of bed in the mornings, and it really worries me that when this pandemic is over with, that we're going to be left with a health crisis of mental health. And as a sufferer of anxiety myself, I know how difficult it can be sometimes to just keep a grip on the day, in fact, and that's one of the reasons that I took up painting, and one of the reasons that my channel has grown as well, because I got a lot of subscribers that watch just to relieve the stress of everyday life that they find themselves in. And the important thing is that we must talk as well. And just because somebody's okay, looks okay and sounds okay, it doesn't mean they are. Don't be afraid to ask a question. Don't be afraid to say, everything all right today? Yeah, I'm fine, okay. And just chat about things and make them feel special. And in fact, everybody needs to be talked to and encouraged. And I was never encouraged much as a child, which is quite a shame, actually. But we were in a different era then. It was a different era. My parents were hardworking and didn't have a lot of time for family life as such, and not as we know it. I had a good childhood, but at the end of the day, it was a different time, different era, different decade. And I've always made time for my children and try to make a lot of time for my grandchildren if I can. So just playing with a bit of sky, just like that. Just getting those maybe rain clouds coming in a little bit there, like that. I'm just going to get some more Prussian blue onto this brush. I'm going to use my stick just to rest my arm on my board, because what I want to do is just put a bit of shadow, just here, there, and everywhere on you, just bring a little bit of shadow in. Just playing, listen to the raindrops on the roof of my studio. My studio is outside in the garden, and it's a lot warmer now than what it was. It's not as cold as it's been in Texas and places like that, and I feel my heart goes out to the people that have had all these power cuts and things, and all the other trouble really that's going around in the world these days. It's a funny old time that we find ourselves in, but my heart is with you. If you're living in America and Texas and places like that have suffered badly with the snow and the rain and the power cuts, and my heart goes out to you, and I hope everything is okay, and I hope you're coping okay, because I understand. I remember the power cuts in the late 80s, 70s, sorry, 70s and early 80s in the UK, where we had strikes and things like that, and I lived through the power cuts, so I know what it's like. We never had central heating, as I said, when I was younger, and the funny thing is, we used to have frozen pipes every year. I remember my father coming home from work and spending hours defrosting pipes, and remember water coming through the ceiling, and wow, it used to be a nightmare. But thankfully now we got central heating systems and things. It's something we never had then. We used to have a coal fire, and that was just downstairs in one room. So a little bit of water coming through, just like that. Maybe just breaking through a little bit of foam. I've seen pictures of the sea freezing the other day. It was quite surreal, in fact. I've never seen the sea freeze. I think it's only ever once. It's the sea, because I don't live far from the sea or the ocean. I think it's only once I've ever seen or heard of our sea around with us freezing. So, but to actually see it like that on a YouTube, or was it YouTube, Facebook, or something like that? I seen it. I can't remember exactly where I seen it. So I'm just going to put a few rocks in, and all I'm doing is just rolling the brush making a few rock patterns, because we don't know where these rocks are. They could be anywhere. There could be a couple of rock pools there, lovely, like this. I think I'll make a nice big pile of rocks there, maybe. There we are. And the quickest way, and that I know of, to put some highlights on these rocks is use my little card, like you see me do a couple of times. Just pull in a bit of paint off. If you want to do it that way, you can do it that way. That makes it look reasonably good. We can get a little bit of water, maybe. Just gather in these pools like that. Maybe there's a little rock pool there, like that. A bit of sand. Get a highlight on the sand. Just highlight the sand a little bit more, like this. Just get a little bit of white and you can get a little bit of burnt umber, a little bit of white. We put a few highlights on these rocks if you want to, just like that. Get a bit of black, can add some shadow. Put a bit of shadow here and there. A little bit of shadow sometimes, a little bit of black. Sometimes we'll just enough. A lot of people don't like using black, but I don't mind using a little bit of black, sparingly, like that. We could get some more rocks, maybe some darker rocks this time, so adding a little bit more black to my, and let's add a little bit of that Prussian blue in there as well. There we go, add a little bit of Prussian blue in. Let's just put a few bigger rocks. Yeah, like that. Let's just tap in the brush. Leave a little bit of sand showing through. Because where I live, there's beaches with quite a lot of rocks and things. And as I said, you could either get a little bit of white, highlight them, like that, if you wanted to, or you could use the card like I've done over that side. Don't be afraid to use your finger if you have to. There you go. What we could do now, let me think, what else can we do? What else can we do with this? Let's get a little bit of wishy-washy paint, because we can do that with the medium mix. It allows you to thin down your paint quite a lot. In fact, you shouldn't thin your paint down more than about 45%, but my medium mix tends to allow you to thin down a little bit more than you maybe otherwise wouldn't be able to. So we can imagine a rainy day on the beach. It's overcast. Let's put a bit more yellow in there, like that. Bit of loose style. Be a bit looser. A bit loose with that. And I think today all I'm going to do now is, I've got a strip lining brush. I think today all I'm going to do is leave it at that. And thank you for joining me and allowing me to waffle once more again this week. We'll put it to a few seagulls in like this. Maybe we'll put a few seagulls on the beach. This little blocks like that. Thank you very much again for joining me in the studio, just to paint away the stress of everyday life, like I normally do every week. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure having you in the studio. Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. Don't forget to click the notification bell, and don't forget that I upload every Monday at 7:30 Greenwich Mean Time. So until next week, thank you very much, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.